Hello, friends. I hope your week has been good. I have had a wild and wonderful past couple of days. I went to the store day before yesterday, I guess, and I wasn't gone long. I just ran to town to grab a couple of things up in Lynchburg at a little store called Woodard's, and it's our little local grocery store. And I guess you could say that Lynchburg is technically the closest town to me. Shelbyville would be the next closest town, and but they're a fair ways further to drive. So when I just need to run to town for something that I know I can get, that I know they will carry, it is not that big a deal. I will happily run to Lynchburg. Takes me about 15-20 minutes to get there. So yes, I am in the country. What can I say? And I got back, and my horse, Maggie, which I'm sure you've mostly all seen, because she's been on several videos, she was standing outside the barn munching on grass. And I drove up, and there she was. And I was just like, oh my God, how did you get there, number one? And number two, you have been playing safe, right? And I knew she hadn't been out there that long because I had only been at the store for, maybe 15-20 minutes, then a 20-minute drive back. And I got home, and like I said, I drove down towards the barn. And in doing so, I made her unsure with the big truck coming towards her. So she went across the street and went up in their yard. Which, please understand, they've got like 10-15 acres. I've got 6 acres. So, when I say about going up in their yard, yards are relatively speaking. I mean, they've got a fenced good 10 acres right off their front yard. And she couldn't get in there, of course. But there usually are 2 horses living in there. And they're not there right now because they're giving their field a rest. And the horses are up at their farm. And so anyway, I came in and they weren't home, so I'm out there trying to get Maggie myself and figure out a way to, get her back in the fence. And the worst part was I had no idea how she'd gotten out. I have to admit, my greatest concern is that she figures out how to open the stable door, which she could do. I just don't think she realizes how she would go out it, because she would have to open it and then go around where she opened it and then go out, because it's not a straight shot, it's like it's not going to open in her. It opens into the stall, not out of the stall. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So it's not something she would readily just be able to do. Yes, I am doing something on purpose right here while we're talking. So I will get to that in a minute. It has to do with what we're going to make today, which is something really, really cool. Actually, I'm learning how to do it basically as we're making it. And because I started out on this video, I really didn't know what I was going to do today, because I had a crash day yesterday. Sometimes when I overdo it physically, and this has to do with the issues with my long COVID, my long COVID doctors believe that I had a change in the messenger RNA in my mitochondria, and something happened that now the mitochondria is not able to make enough ATP, which that is the thing that causes, it's the energy that moves the cell. Apparently, they believe that it's not making sufficient ATP for extended muscle usage on my skeletal muscle. Which boils down to, I have to kind of be careful how much I do at one time, because I can get to a point where my body will literally crash and quit moving and I just fall over. I've gotten real close to it a couple of times, and it is not a pleasant experience. And so I do try to, make my activities with just a slight, I mean, yeah, I push myself all the time, but I don't push myself to the point that my body's telling me, you're in trouble, you need to stop this now. And so I try to be smart about that. And anyway, so yeah, she's home, or she's there, going around the yard, and I'm walking around with, I went and grabbed some carrots because that's one of her favorite snacks. So I grabbed some carrots to try to, convince her to come in. And so she ended up, she couldn't figure out how to get back in, basically. She was out and looking around, and she was enjoying munching on grass and just, doing things. But she doesn't wear a halter all the time. Most horses don't. And so I was just using the carrots to try to lure her back over to and I wasn't sure which way I needed to get her into the fence anyway. And thankfully, my neighbors and their granddaughter came, because she lives on a house up at the front of their acreage. And they all got home and, came in, and they saw me with Maggie out. And the granddaughter pulled her van sideways through the road to make it less appealing for Maggie to head up towards the highway, which is a good several hundred yards up the road, because I've got my 6 acres stretches out from the highway back, and it has a pretty good frontage. So, and that frontage is all wild. It's forest and, that kind of thing. So it's very nice. It really makes a lovely barrier for the highway. But anyway, so she pulled her car all the way across the road to block Maggie from wanting to go to the highway. And while she was doing that, my neighbor went into her house and grabbed some horse treats and came out, because she wasn't sure what kind of horse treats I had or if I had enough for what we were going to need. And her husband comes over, and he's, very gently, they're horse people. So they know how to gently, create a safety circle, so to speak, while you're trying to work with the horse and get her back in the fence. And so, with them standing kind of in a triangle of area around, like a semicircle almost of area, to encourage her not to go that direction, but to come back towards this direction, she meandered on up into the front yard area. And then she saw the gate, which is, there's 3 gates, and she saw the gate that is right by her trough. And she knows, she's only been out twice, and both times it was because one was estimating and one was doing roofing work. And they walked off and left the gate wide open. And so she got out and she was in the front yard, and it was no big deal. But that's the gate she went back into the yard each of the 2 times that she got out. And so she knows she can go in that gate. As soon as she spotted that gate, she started walking over there. And she got up by the gate, and she didn't go right to the gate. She kind of went sideways just a little bit. And she let me walk past her to get to the gate. And I went and opened up the gate and held it wide open and encouraged her to come, on in the gate. And she walked right on into the gate, and, that was all fixed. And I gave her a carrot and thanked her and gave her good pets and stuff. And then went back outside to go figure out where on earth did she get out. Come to figure, my neighbor apparently spotted where she got out. And he and his wife and granddaughter were already starting to try to figure out a way to fix it, temporarily at least. One of the cattle panels up by the 3rd gate had somehow, she was leaning over it, I guess, the panel, to try to reach some grass that was over there, because, grass is always greener on the other side. And so she went and leaned over, and apparently when she leaned over, the entire cattle panel gave way on that post. I don't know what was holding it on there. I don't remember, and I didn't put the fence up, so I honestly don't know. But whatever it was, it failed, and that fence came out and laid down flat where she could walk across it and step on outside. Well, when she got finished walking across it and stepping out, it come back up like this, and she no longer could figure out how she could get back in, because the way she came out was no longer available to her. So that was why she was perplexed. She actually had looked at it and tried to figure it out, but she couldn't, figure it out. So anyway, they were already taken. I had one of those halters that has a lead rope that's part of the halter. They're soft, and I really love it. It's a beautiful halter. I hope I don't lose it. It has that big old lead on it. And the granddaughter had taken that and tied the panel back up with that to hold it in place until I could get, some supplies and figure it out. And anyway, today I went down. Yesterday, like I said, I had a crash day. That going and going and going, and then still having to go in there to do the stall and everything. I was absolutely wiped Friday night. So yesterday I had a crash day, and I slept until like 2 in the afternoon, and then still had to get up and go do everything, do the pets and feed the horse and all that kind of stuff. And so I just kind of went and crashed last night, and got up today, and I went down to Tractor Supply, best store in the world as far as I'm concerned. I love those people. And they helped me figure out a way to at least temporarily stabilize it and try to make some repair to it and see if it can be salvaged, so that I know whether or not it's going to work before I have to buy another panel and replace it, or what exactly is going on. So anyway, I went down there. I came home with a 27-foot long, the ratchet thing that has the big wide cord, and you pull it this way and it clicks, and it makes it get shorter. I don't know what you call them exactly, a tie down, something. It's usually used on trucks and other projects and things. You use it when you get hay to strap down the hay so it doesn't go falling off as you're driving, that kind of thing. But I used one of those temporarily tonight because it was almost dark when I got home from the store. So I used that, and I threaded it through the panels all the way across, the good panels as well as that one that had failed, all the way across and up and around the big post that that it was attached to, that the panel had been attached to. And I threaded it through there so that it was in between, in and out between the panels. And I hooked it on at the first post that was there, and hooked it there, and then brought it from there to the end and tightened it down real good. And it's built to handle 10,000 pounds, which is 8,000 and some odd pounds more than she is. So yeah, I figured she's 1,100 pounds ish, and my math may not be great, but she's 1,100 pounds. And the principle of it was that it would be strung up through the panel, so it would keep her from trying to go under the thing, because the panel it's threaded through the panel, and so it can't get under that strap to try to go between it, because it's put together. And then the top part, with it being that way, it would secure it tightly enough with that post, because the post is not that big around. It's basically a chunk of tree that's secured way down in the dirt, several feet, a couple of feet down. And so it's not going to go anywhere. And so that's going to buy me some time. I also got these U-shaped things. I don't know what they're called. They're like, come up like this, and they're about a little over an inch long, maybe, I don't know, 1.5 inches long. And you hammer them in where the panel is, hammer them into the post is what I'm going to do. I'll do that tomorrow, because I ran out of daylight today. And but I'll get up tomorrow morning and do that, and start, and hammer that thing all the way up the post as far as I can get it, so that it also is secured that way. And then I've got these little things, I don't know what they're called. Once again, I'm sorry, it's a weird looking contraption. It's made of metal that comes and curves around and comes back that way, and you hook it on with it's where you hook it on with the metal fence posts, and it's what attaches the panel to those fence posts. And I got a package of those, a big package of those, and I didn't have a hammer, so I got a hammer and a pair of pliers to manipulate that to get it back to where, where it'll be attached and be secure that way too. So yeah, that was my adventure over the last couple of days, was getting this thought through and figured out. So yeah. Like I said, I hope y'all have had a wonderful week. Mine's been a little bit weird, but it's a-okay. Maggie was safe. That's the most important thing. And the fence is being secured. That's the second most important thing. So, yeah, we're all good. Just a little bit of, figuring it out was all. And no, I was not raised, around a farm at all. The whole concept of fencing and how it goes up and stuff is not much more than a mystery to me. I understand some of it in principle, but I have no idea how it all happens. So, yeah, I wasn't exactly, coming in here like with a strong skill set of how you fix a fence. So I was very, very grateful. Kudos to Tractor Supply, and Maddie is my local person who went out of her way to help me figure it out, find the tools I needed, and, pull it all together so I could come home with a sense of confidence that I had the right tools and how to use them. So I appreciate them very, very much. Anyway, so I came in and I'm cuddling on the kitty because the kitty wanted loves, and Boots was inside. He wanted snuggles. So I sat down with him for a few minutes while I charged the phone, because this phone had not been charged. So it was like down to nothing. And I needed to charge it to make a film, make a video. So I did all that. And now I am ready for us to do this. We're going to do this in pieces because I'm learning as I'm going. And I want to make sure that I don't make any errors with it. What we're going to make is this cool looking fan. Like like the fans that fold out. This is a paper fan that folds out. And it is cool as all get out looking. I mean, oh my gosh. It'll go in any journal. You can put it anywhere in the journal. And you can slide it open and slide it closed. And you can lay it down and have it like in a pocket or a tuck somewhere. Or you could use it even on the front of a journal. I mean, you could put one of these, a big one that's like fits on the face of your journal. It would be gorgeous. There is so many different kinds of things that you could do with this. It is just amazing. I mean, I'm watching this. Okay, this is a video, and I am going to try to link this below and figure out how to do that. In case I screw up the linking this below, it's made by Natasha over at Treasure Books. So you go on YouTube, look up Treasure Books, TREASURE. I can't talk. Treasure Books. And it is a video called Super Easy and Quick Journal Idea. And I'm going to try to find it and fix it so that you can do that. I'm not real good at that. I have a hard time getting the right link to show up and getting it to go right back to the place. And I'm sitting here copying this one, or trying to copy this one as we go to see if I can make it work right. Let's see here, copy. All right, I'm going to try to work this in to make it sure I get the right thing. Anyway, this is really cool. And so what I'm going to do is, this is how far I am in this video. What you do is you need a triangle, a simple triangle. So she suggested, you make it the size that, that you like to play with. She has some that she's made little, like, a couple of inches, 1 inch, it really, really cute little. And when I finish this one, I may try to put together one and do that one, or at least show it. But basically what you do is you start out, and this is a popcorn box. She had a cereal box, but this is a great item. It's fairly sturdy. Any kind of food box is fine. It's sturdy, and it'll make a really really good template. The only thing you want to do is cut you straight edges somewhere. One of the edges at least needs to be straight, because you're going to be measuring the base of your triangle with it. And this is going to be the size. This base is the top part of the fan. Like when you see the fan spinning out, this side here is the part that's going to be how wide each of your pieces are. So it's going to come out to, if you made it like here, it'll be, the pieces will have a triangle from here to there. So when you're making your thing, you're not starting over here and making a piece this way. You're starting along this edge. Then you're going to draw. I'll show you what you're going to do. Hang on a minute, because I just watched it and I know what to do. We're going to line it up. I use my lines on my board here. My crafting board. These things, that's why it's so handy to have one of these, because you can measure stuff on them. So I'm using this, and I'm looking 1, 2, 3 inches. That's going to be a big square, maybe. That might be a pretty big, well, it won't hurt nothing. Let's try it. So if we mark this 1, 2, 3 inches right here, and make a little mark, 3 inches. Then we need to look and make a mark for the center. So 1.5 inches is the center. Let's bring it down here where I can see those measurements easier to mark them. Okay, there's our, hang on, I'm out of screen, I believe. 1 second, here you go. There's, let me make sure you can see. Okay, 1, 2, 3 inches, so 1.5 right here. Right up here is 1.5. Make you a little mark there too. Now what you're going to do is take anything solid that you've got handy, you know, a ruler or whatever. You want to see, you want to do this. You're going to take, and you want this to be even. So you want a straight line. Here we go. This is going to be the fun part. Making a straight line off of this. Hang on. Let me figure out a way to make this be straight. I swear. I need to just use one of my other tools. I'm trying to see if I can do it with this little piece of paper. Does that look straight? No, that looks a little wonky. Okay, here, there. Okay, we're going to try it. We're going to bring a line up here. Then we're going to see how tall do we want to make our thing. If we want it to be this wide, how tall do we want to make it? All right, let's just pick a point. We're going to pick a point right there. Then what we're going to do is we take this from this corner right there on the edge. You line it up there at the edge here and where your dot is. So you're going to do that and that draw you a line there. Then, whoops, didn't draw very well. That's all right. We'll get by it. Then you do it the same thing going the other way. Here we go. We'll do it this way. Am I still in frame now since I've moved my frame? 1 second. Okay, we're going to do it again. There's the line there where we are. Here's the line here where we are. We line up those two lines and we draw a line there. Boy, this thing sucks at drawing lines, don't it? It's terrible at drawing lines. Let's try that again. Let's see. Fun part, trying to get it in the same spot. There we go. That's better. Now we're going to take us a big pair of scissors and we're going to come in here and cut this puppy out. So we take this and we just follow the line and we cut it out just like so. You could do this with your cutting tool as well, which I think I might just do because I like cutting tools better than I like scissors. That's all right. That looks good. I'll try this one, see if I can do this one half as good as I did the other one. This actually looks pretty good. Okay, let's see how this did. It's not terrible. Alright, so we're going to take this triangle. Now, what she suggested is when you're looking at paper, if you want to use, she said that scrapbook paper is great for this. And if you've got thin scrapbook paper, you don't want to use it by itself. If you have thin scrapbook paper, you want to glue it to the back of some cardstock. If you've got like a lightweight cardstock, you'd want to glue it down to cardstock because you need a little bit of weight to this so that when you spread out your fan, it doesn't just flop over. You know, when you got something really lightweight and as you can see like this, it would just flop over. That's very, if you put this on cardstock, it would be fine. But as it is, it's not very useful for that. So what we want to do is, I am going to use this side of the paper to mark my little lines that we're going to cut around. And the first thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to start with my line. Hang on, am I back up? Just a second, I'm sorry. I keep moving everything around. I'm not doing any good things for any of us, huh? Okay, there's that, like so. And I'm going to do a quick triangle here. I'm going to just use my pen there and draw it. And she used a pencil, but I don't have a pencil handy. I'm using a pen, and I'll just get over it. So there's that. And then, I guess I could do it this way, maybe. She did hers in some fancy way where she was doing them back to back like that or something. Yeah, it looked like she was doing them back to back this way to try to minimize the cuts on her paper. Oh, that's not encouraging. That don't look very straight from here, which means one of my angles is not very straight. I may have to do this over again because it may not work very well if they're not right. Or we can just wing it. I love it. Let's wing it. We'll see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? We have to do a little bit of trimming. We will get over it. We will survive. Okay, there's 2 triangles. Here's a third one. We won't get a 4th one there, but we can then go up and make 3 more triangles. And we'll put here and right here. Here we go. Right across this way. Crumbs, that moved. Okay, that moved. Let's fix that. Okay, there's that. There's 3 of them. Let's do this. And one thing she did suggest was that if you use this side down, and I didn't think about that. I do remember her saying that, because the shiny side tends to move, as you just saw, when you're drawing with it. It tends to be a little less stable than the regular cardboard side. See, it's trying to slide around on me here. Alright, let's do this. Now, here we go. Alright, so that's that. Number 4. Hang on a second. Put this down because this one looks, this is the one I just used. That's the side I just used. Here's that. Five. I do not pretend this is going to be perfect because this is my first stab at it. And I usually don't come to y'all with just my first stab, but I was so excited about this. I thought, I gotta make this, and I want to make it with you guys. Because I want you to see that I don't always get things right either. And that's just part of the process. You live and you learn. And you get it, you know, you do it the best way you know how. And this is, I'm going to tell you what, this is all straight lines. I'm going to come in here with this thing and just do accurate cutting and be done with it because it's so much faster. First things first, let me cut this in half. Can't do that. I have to cut it this way between the shapes. Okay, let me just get this so it's a smaller thing to deal with. And set that one aside for a moment. Let me cut this line. And the beautiful thing about this, okay, you can see right there is the trough where the blade goes through. So you don't have to use the numerical measurements. You can look at this and see where your stuff is going to come to. And if you want to get a start that's in the ballpark, set it down like this where it looks like it's about right and do a first cut. That way, okay, this is a little bit larger than that, but not much. So I can adjust this just the tiniest bit and get down to that smaller amount. So it'll just take that little sliver off and then it's out of your way. Let's come down here and get that little sliver out of the way because it has a tendency to fall down into the trough. Hi, Boots. What you doing, my little sweet boy? Huh? How you doing, my kitten? Yes, how's that sweet boy? I'm sorry, Boots. I've got stuff all over the place here. I apologize. Let me make you a spot to lay down and relax. I'm so sorry. I've been creating and having ideas, and I thought of something I wanted to try to do with some rock chips, you know, crystal chips, and I got started on that, and I've been going to town, and haven't cleaned my desk in several days, and it shows. Okay, here's this another one. We're gonna line it up here with these. There's this end right here on the pokey part. There's right there at the point. And right up here you can see it's lined up with that. And we will pop it down. This way you get a straight edge. For me, I love these things and I appreciate them so much. God bless the individual who created these, because they are an absolute joy and delight. Now this one, I'm going to do this. I am going to do a rough cut, because there is so much here, all that leeway, that you can't even begin to see what you're aiming at. So you want to cut just a chunk away, just to make some space to work with, so that you are not having to line up edges with 3 inches of paper where you're trying to figure out how to line that up exactly. Otherwise, it's not practical. You can't. I'm going to have to still cut this down a little bit. It's just too much there. You can't see. So I needed that down just a little bit more so I can see what I'm doing and be accurate. Because I am trying to make this as accurate as I can. Contrary to popular belief, I actually do try. Okay, so there's one piece there. Now here's this and that. We will line that up, cut it. There's this another piece. See, there's this side and there's that side. And we made another piece. Here we go. Let's get this right here, line it up. Are you helping me, Boots, babe? You are such a sweet kitty. There's another one. All right, you make 6 of these little triangles, and that's going to make the fan. Hi, Boots. Are you helping by banging on things? You're such a sweetheart. Here we go. There's 3. There's my 4th one. Come here, you. There's another one. Hi, baby. Hang on, I got crap in your way, don't I? Yeah, I know. Everything's in your way. I'm sorry. Let me get these scissors out of your way. There you go. And that pen. There now. Not so bad now, huh? Okay, so there's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got an extra one somewhere. No, I didn't. Bless you. All right, little fella? All right, let's see here. What's that? Bless you. What did you do? Did you get something in your nose? Excuse me, you're sitting on my cutter. That is not a place you need to be sitting. I'm going to chop this down a little bit. Once again, I'm not chopping it to the exact measurement. I'm just getting some of the crud out of the way so I can cut reasonably. Now, this way it's not just, you know, with several inches of stuff I'm trying to see past. Alright, now this one is lined up. You can see the end here is lined up right at that little trough. Same with this other end. And I can make a good cut now. That's going to be one of my triangles. There's number 4, 5. How did I make so many of these? I really don't get it. Ended up with more than I needed, but oh well. Excuse me, kitty. Yep. Okay, let's see how that looks. Good. And I do not pretend that these are going to be perfect. I'm just aiming at getting them where they're good and much as I can do right. There's that and that. Let's see how that does. Natasha at Treasure Books is very quick to say that she likes perfection. I haven't developed my crafting art skills that much yet. That one's a little wonky. To where I can say that I expect perfection. I'm just not that good. I'm learning still. She's been doing this for well over a decade and has a book and everything. So, yeah, she's a pro. And she can say she expects perfection and it be, you know, very much within her realm of doing to have that perfection. I'm still getting there. Which is the way most people are, actually. You know, and she has her flub-ups too, so I don't feel uncomfortable about that. All right, let's look at these. Let's see what we got now. Okay, one of these is definitely not the same as the other, as they say on Sesame Street. 3 of these things is, 1 of these things doesn't belong, whatever. Okay, these will do. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, 6, we have them. And then one of the things that she said she does, and this is why, like on the side, she was doing the lines on the colored side of the paper, and she was saying that it doesn't really matter to her if the pencil, she was using a pencil too. She said you can either erase those pencil lines or you can leave them, because when you ink your paper, it will always cover, you know, a lot of things. This one's not even close to the same size. What in the world? Where did that come from? This one's the same size as that one. What am I dealing with here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, what have I got? Is this one going to be okay then? Yeah, it'll be okay. These are all approximately the same size. No, they are not perfect. Yes, hers were perfect. Forgive me. I'm just trying this first time. Okay, give me a sec. I'm going to ink these for us real quick, and then I'll be right back so you don't have to sit here and watch me ink. Okay, I'm back. I finished inking everything, front and back, because I have that writing on the back. I wanted to try to, disguise any of that there too. But this is just part of, one of the reasons that inking is nice is because when you put this together and you look at it, these are going to be the parts of your fan right here. So when they're coming apart this way, when you're turning them and making the fan shape as it goes, like, hang on, can't quite get it all together there. As you're doing it like this, and this makes your fan, when you look at it, you can see each piece clearly this way, because the inking just demarks where the place at is. Another thing that you can do if you don't like inking, if you want to sew and do a paper, do a stitch on your sewing machine, you can do that. You can do both, or you can do neither, depending on, it's just what you like. That's the beauty of paper. It's all about what you like, and nothing is wrong. So anyway, this is where all these are inked on front and back. Oops, I missed one on the back. Hang on a second. Let me grab my little dauber right here and just do a quick ink. Said you can use any color you want, because sometimes, depending on what color you have on your paper and what color of inks you have, sometimes you have inks that actually kind of match your paper and really make it look good to, you could use, like on this, if I had a green ink that kind of went with that, like a soft green ink. The greens that I have are pretty strong, so I wouldn't really be wanting to do them that way. This thing is dry, you can tell. I did this a little bit ago, because I also did the next step of stuff to be picked out while I was doing this as well. Okay, so everything's inked front and back, and then you're looking at this and you've got your 6 pieces here. The next thing you're going to do is choose your trim of what's going to go on the top here. I had several things that I was looking at. There was one I really loved, but it's just way too big. Oh, are you going to help me with the ribbons? I'll show you what it was, and I think I'm going to actually make me a, whoops, wrong one. Hang on, you come here. Nope, you're not it. So over here to my right, not my left. I just really love this lace, because I don't know if you can see it, but it's very sparkly. And I just thought that was so cute. It is kind of big for this thing, but I just thought, I'm going to make one that's larger, I think, and use this ribbon. But it's going to have to be significantly bigger for this ribbon to be effective. I just love this ribbon. I think it's so pretty. The sparkles are just nice. I don't do a whole lot of sparkles in my crafting, but when I see something like that, it actually is quite nice. And here's another one that I had that would have been lovely, but I don't have enough of it. I only have a little bit of it. This is all I have of it, is this one little piece. But it would be absolutely gorgeous to have something like that. So, different laces can have different effects. There was this one that I had. Hang on a second. Come here, you. Whoops. This one. this one really is lovely, but it's just a little too short. If I was making one smaller, where it's a, it's a little triangle, this would probably be lovely on it. So that one kind of got disqualified because it was just too small. This one, however, I like. It is a nice size, and I'm really thinking this is going to be just about, Goldilocks, just right to go on here. So this is what I'm going to choose to use. And the next thing you want to do is go through here and measure out these little pieces, and you want to make sure that there's a little bit extra so that if you have to adjust anything, you can do that. So I'm going to snip off just a little bit extra here on each of these. And I need 6 of these little pieces. Come here, little scissors. Oops, come back here. There's that one. So there's one. Now I need 5 more of these. Let's see here. Here is 2, 3. You don't have to cut these any particular way. You'll do that when you get them glued down. 4, 5, 5. That's what I thought. Just make sure. And 6. All right, so that's going to go on. And the other thing that I saw that I was thinking about maybe trying, hang on a second, this is all tangled up there. Set that aside. The other thing I thought about doing, I have this little trim, and it's kind of sparkly, and I thought about adding this on, wait a minute, it goes this way, sorry. This is the sparkly side, or the more sparkly are the 2 sides. And I was thinking about adding this at the base of that lace. So I'm going to pull me off 6 pieces of this as well. If I can get it detangled from my scissors. By the way, if I haven't mentioned it before, these are the most comfortable scissors in the world. If it hurts your hands or you have arthritis in your fingers and trying to get your fingers through these holes in scissors, it really, is hard for you. These scissors, and there's a bigger one like it, are absolutely a wonderful thing. They just are super in being helpful about fixing so that you don't have to use, you don't have to hurt your hands so much to try to cut. And when you're cutting a lot of stuff, this weekend I've been cutting, when you do like labels and stuff, you print out sheets of them. And when you print out a sheet of them, you got to sit down and cut them all out. This is just a couple of sheets worth. I've been sitting in the living room as I was watching TV, cutting out tons of these little tiny labels. And so yeah, when you're doing this kind of cutting, having your fingers stuck through a pair of scissors for that long, it is uncomfortable, to say the least. So yeah, don't do yourself a favor and seriously consider getting a pair of these scissors. They are one of the best investments I've ever made to make cutting easier. I don't have arthritis in my hands. I do, however, have a bit of neuropathy. It's just part of the general neuropathy that I had with my long COVID. And so it's very, very nice to have these scissors. For me, it's not, when I'm using scissors like these, if I'm having a really sensitive day, it's the pressure against different places where it hits nerves just sets it off like fire. So having it where all I have to do is just gently press down like that is so much nicer, because there are places it'll hit, anything can touch my hands in certain places, and it just sets off a wave of discomfort through my whole hand, or through my hand going up, to where the brachial nerve is. I got a bruise there. Anyway, so that's something that I try to avoid that because it's uncomfortable. And like I said, another Pam at the Paper Outpost uses this kind of scissors, and she had remarked on how much better they had made her scissor work. And she's right. These things have been a wonderful investment. They're not real expensive, and boy, are they a good bang for the buck. They really do help. Okay, there's 3 of those. 4. Like I said, this is not exact because you're going to trim them down to what goes exactly right when you glue them down. After you glue them and they, after you get them glued down, that's when you're going to trim them. Because you want to make sure that they're going to look right. Bless you. What is going on, boy? You don't usually have sneezies like that. Did you get into something? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that's right. And 1 more, 6. Okay, so now let me just show you basically how we're going to do this. This is going to, first the lace is going to go down, and that's going to go down facing outward. You know how you have the pretty fans and they have the little decorative things on top of them? This is what we're doing with this. Sorry, there's another one of my little tags. Come over here, you get out of the way. And so excuse me, Boots. Let me get that out from under your paw. He got into something this week. He has had an injury of some sort. I don't know if something fell on him out in the barn, or if, I don't know what happened. But his little face has got some, what you would normally call road rash is what it looks like. And one little paw has got a little bit on the heel, back of his heel. So he is indoors and not going outside until he is completely well. And even then, I'm thinking about keeping him in. He was intended to be an indoor kitty, and so him going outside has always been against my better judgment. It's just one of those things, you just feel it in your heart that he needs to be in the house. And he is intended to be in the house. And so I'm really thinking I'm going to just gently put my foot down and we're going to keep him in the house. And he will have to be okay with that, I guess, because I just think it's the right thing to do for him. I want him to have a long, long life. And I don't want him to have any worries. And frankly, I don't want me to be worrying about it too, because that was scary. He didn't come home yesterday. In the morning, he was not here, and I didn't remember seeing him the night before, but I didn't think that much about it because he doesn't always, come sit on the porch or something. He's got his areas he likes to go to, around the barns and sometimes even back towards the cabin. And so that's a possibility too. Something may have shifted in the cabin when he, it's got stuff in it for storage. So it's possible he went in there and got into something. I just don't know. I would prefer not to think that anyone would have dinged him with a car. Certainly not on purpose. Okay, I'm not sure I like how this is going down. We shall see. Okay, let me see how that actually looks. That don't look bad. That's alright. This is something I'm making for fun. First tries just go into an idea spot. I don't, always put them in I don't always put first tries into a journal or something. First tries I tend to hang on to as for one thing, when you don't make something for a while, you can forget you made it. It goes to the back burner. And it's just not something where you're thinking about, yeah, let's do this. If you haven't done it in a while, you can forget about it over time. And it's not something you're primarily doing. And then to go back, this purpose of keeping these firsts that you make is to help you remember that you made them. Because at times I've been doing this for about 4 years, and I'm absolutely sure that there are things that I have made that I have forgotten about. And part of the forgetting about it is not having made or kept a sample. So I try to make sure now everything I make a sample of too, so that I keep that sample and I don't forget about it. You know, I don't forget that, hey, there's out there, that's something out there that I can make. And just because I haven't done it in a while doesn't mean it's not adorable and wouldn't fit in something appropriately. And so, yeah, I suggest, it's a tedious thing, but if you get started doing this on a regular basis, I suggest you do it because it's worthwhile. It'll help you remember things that you've forgotten you made. Okay, let's see here. Let me get this down this way just a little bit. There now. There's that little piece. All right, here's one. Set that over there. There's number two. Here we go. I'm going to pause so you don't have to sit here and watch me do all of these, and I'll be right back with them finished. All right, let us trim these down now. I wanted to give them time to dry a little bit, because if you do this right after you glue it and you've got wet glue, your scissors kind of protest on getting gunked up with wet glue. So you'll take this and you just use, I'm using my pinking shears, definitely not a requirement because these things are not going to come unraveled. I'm just trying it out because Natasha did pinking shears on hers. I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. It looks okay. You can't hardly really tell because of the lace that you've pinked it per se. But, yeah, we'll put this stuff out of the way. We can get these. I was very concerned because I have two boxes full of charms, and my brads were in there, and I left them over at Rebecca's house for her to look through and find charms that would go good with some of the bracelets and stuff that she's making. And because she and I are planning on trying to do a Christmas show together this winter, you know, this fall, whenever. We're just going to see. We don't even know for sure which one we want to do because there are a dozen to choose from. That's not so much our concern. We'll see how much stuff we have made and then decide from there. Because like one of them is over in Bell Buckle, and if you're familiar with that at all, they literally have thousands of people that come through on any given weekend at their Christmas event. So you've got to have enough stuff made to deal with a crowd of literally thousands, and that is a lot of stuff. So we're debating, you know, we're just seeing how we go as the year goes on, and then we'll know whether or not we want to do that one, or whether or not we want to do something a little smaller that's more local, but that'll have not as many people, but also won't require just a ton of stuff to be made up. Okay, so this is what they're looking like now after they've been topped and trimmed, and the way they're going to fit together is they're going to go together and they'll spread apart like this, you know, and they'll be going like this, and they'll be all pretty as they're fanned out. And then you decide if you want to decorate each piece, you can. I would be mindful of putting things that stick up though, because they're going to hang on each other. Stencils, stamps, stickers, thin things that you're adding on that would be thin would be all I would suggest as far as doing these pieces over here. We can decorate the front piece because it's going to always be seen, and there's nothing that's going to get interfering with it. It's going to be just like it is the whole time. It won't have anything that's like overlapping it, so it can hold that decoration and be fun and have it. So that's basically what it's looking like. And then if you are going to decorate in any way, whether it's stencils or stamps or whatever you're doing, before you put this into a unit, you want to do all your decorating first. And also, if you're using, you don't have to use all the same color paper. You can use all different colors of paper or a coordinating set of colors of paper. There's just any number of things that you can choose to do with this, and not be, you know, having it all the same. you could alternate papers, or, you know, like I said, there's just, the sky's the limit, whatever you want to do. But then when you get it finished, it's going to lay together like this. And what you're going to do is you want to come in and stack all your stuff back up. And when you do this, obviously it's going to be a little bit bulkier now because of the things that you've added to it. What you want to do, though, is come down here and try to line up your points down here. Try to get those pretty even. And I know it's not easy because stuff's trying to go everywhere. Hang on a second. I'm trying to get mine situated here too, because these are all different. You know, the trims are trying to pull them apart. So what you want to do, though, is get your points in the same basic place, like so, because you need to poke a hole in them in order to put a brad of some sort through there. And they make decorative brads. I just don't have any. I thought for a minute I'd messed up, because one of the boxes that has charms and stuff in it also has a bunch of brads, but I caught these on sale, and so I grabbed another box of them. They're $200 to a box. This is like, you know, forever and ever in brads. But anyway, what you'll do is you poke a little hole right in here in the middle somewhere. You don't want it down here by the tip, because it'll tear and it won't be able to support the weight of all the stuff going on, especially if you put decorations that weigh anything on top of it. So you want to come back up onto the fan a little ways, and that way that hole is not going to be putting too much pressure down here on this real thin end. So what I'm doing is I'm holding these all together just like this. And let me introduce you to a handy tool that I have that's really, really cool. This thing is called a Croppadile, Croppadile, like crocodile, only with a P instead of a C. And it's called a Big Bite because, as you can see, this right here goes a long way back. There's the original Croppadile is much smaller. What this thing does, it's handy for a number of reasons. It does it does eyelets. You can create eyelets with this, and it matches up to different sizes of eyelets. And so you can, when you push this down, it crimps the eyelet when it's set on that setting. And then there's another setting here where it can make holes. And that's what we're going to use. If you look at this, see when I press down on that? That little thing comes down. That's the smaller one. There's a larger one, but this is the small one. That little thing goes down. Hi, Boots. You going to help? That little thing goes down, and it pokes a hole through, and it will poke a hole through, oh my gosh, like tons of stuff. This is one of the things that a lot of people use when they are binding their signatures. Some people will use this little small size of the Croppadile to make the holes rather than use an awl and poke it through, because sometimes it's a little harder, especially if you're using like ribbon to bind, something that's a thicker material to bind. This can be a little bit harder to do with just a little awl poke. It can get really tight when you're trying to go back through the same hole again. It can get really snug if you don't have a large enough hole. So some people like to use this little thing here to make the holes when they're binding their signatures. I do it both ways. Just depends on what I'm doing and what I'm binding with. I'm using a regular binding material, then I'll just do it like normal. I won't do it, you know, with the holes. I'll use the awl instead, because an awl is an extremely effective tool, and it gives you a beautiful, very snug, holds your signature together very nicely so that it doesn't wobble at all. Okay, so here we go. We're going to look at this and we're going to say, okay, I think I want that brad to go in right about there. So I'm marking me a spot right there. Now, when I go in here with the Croppadile, I'm going to carefully, I'm holding all these still snug so they're all working. It's going to poke the hole through all of them at once. So I know which one is going to come down, and I line that up, and then I start to bring it down just to make sure that I'm in the right spot, and I make sure that I'm seeing the right spot there, and then I'll look at that and get it straight. Then I just go, and it's in, and that just made a hole through that whole thing, and it's awesome. This is an interesting tool. If you plan on making any number of journals or something like that, this is a really handy tool. Or if you want to use eyelets in your work, this is a super handy tool. It is not a cheap date. Mine, I actually held a class, and instead of charging for the class, the place that was representing it, you know, the host of the class, instead of paying me with fees that they would charge the people, I brought and provided all the materials myself out of my own stash. And to reimburse me for all the gobs of paper that 9 people making books used, they bought me this thing. And I was delighted. I thought that was the sweetest thing. She was just like, you know, what can I get you that will, that would, you know, pay you for in such, you know, for all these materials that you're bringing. Because I brought trims, I bought paper, I brought everything, and set up a mini craft room every week when we did this thing and that class. And so this is what they got for me. Like I said, it's about $60 to $70, somewhere in there. So I felt very, very blessed to get this in payment for doing a class. And that was really, really cool. So the smaller one is quite a bit less. I think like 30 to 40 maybe. I don't know. I haven't priced them recently. But it's, you know, the smaller one. But what it doesn't do is when you go to do a signature, you've got paper, you know, that's like this wide because it's an 8.5 by 11, and it's the 11 wide. So to get in here, you have to go in, 5.5 inches to get to the middle to make your hole. And it's actually more than 5.5 inches, really. This little thing right here has, this right here, there is a, see this little, hang on, I don't know if I'm in frame. See this little thing right here? This is something that you can measure with, and it adjusts to whatever. There is a, the equivalent of like a little tape measure here that shows different measurements of the width. So if you have an odd amount size paper and you want to put a hole in it, you can use this as a stop to, you just slide your paper in until it hits the stop, and you know you're at the exact center. And you'll have, normally when you're making that, you're going to have a template you've made, and you're going to have little marks where your holes are supposed to go. So you'll have that, but you can also do this to help keep your paper from going too far. And it's just a handy measurement. And so anyway, it is a very cool tool. I'm so grateful to have it. And I just, you know, really, really appreciate that. Was an awesome little payment for a craft class. That was a real blessing. Okay, so now we're going to line this back up and get our brad here. Where'd my brad go? Come here, Brad. Where'd you go? Okay, I don't see my brad. Hang on, I'll just grab another one. I guess I must have bumped it somewhere. Hang on. Get over here. Grab the box of breads. Alright, drawer, don't get stuck. Okay. It just, you can see it's just little cheap fasteners. But there's a box of 200 of these things. And I was afraid that was the only one that I had, and I forgot I bought a second box. I went rummaging around the drawer and found it, and I was like, yay! I didn't mess up. Because I knew I had it at Becky's in the other box. Alright, let me set that back over here in this drawer. And we will take this brad, and we're going to slide it through all of our pieces here. And we may have to work our way through this a little bit because I got them all messed up. They aren't all lined up like they were when I made the hole. So I've got to find the holes here. There we go. 2 of them there. There's a couple of them. And the last one. Okay, there we go. Now we're all lined up. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to take this and you flip it over, and you're going to, you want to have it where, you don't want it to go side to side because it'll hang over. You want it to go, turn it a little bit so it'll go top to bottom instead. And you're going to hide that, but it's just, it makes it a whole lot easier. You don't have it sticking off to the sides. And then you just very gently pop that down, and that secures it. And now your little fan can fan out properly after I get it all untangled. Hang on, this is why you have to, I encourage you not necessarily to decorate every single page, because when you start spreading it out like this, then it will be a little bit difficult to spread out because all the stuff hanging off of it. So there we have it. Now it looks like this on the front, and I had a few little things that I pulled out to decorate real quick on the front of it, just something to put down and look cute. I've got this little heart. I was going to put a little bit of lace behind it like that. Just stick the lace down. Come here, glue. If I can get the lid off. By the way, I have determined it was not a thing. It was a critter. Looks like that Boots had a tangle with. So yeah, I'm going to be watching. Those little wounds look very nice. They're very clean. He's done a good job keeping them clean. And right now they don't look like there's any irritation. I'll put some ointment on them to make sure that they stay sterile, if he will let me. Hopefully he will. See, I'm just kind of sticking all this stuff down, having a little fun. Sticking that down, and then here's a little word, graceful. I am anything but graceful, but I thought that was cute, so I will put that down there. Graceful is definitely not my style. I am more than slightly uncoordinated. There we go. We will just stick all this down. Put a little bit of pressure on it. Something like that. And then I have these cute, these little guys. These are so darn cute. I just love them. And they sparkle, which makes me smile. I've got, just cut one loose like that. I was going to just glue that down right there. Piece of kitty fluff. Just kind of stick that down. If I can get it off my finger. There we go. Stick that little deal down there. Then I was going to take one more of these and sit it on top of my bread. Because breads don't look bad. I just thought it'd be cute to have one of these on top of the thing. So I put a little drop of glue on the bread, just like so. Then set the little flower on top of it, just like that. And once it dries, it'll be stable. And that'll be cute. And that's just a simple little decoration, but I think it comes out cute. And so this is what we're doing this week. By the way, I do hope that y'all have had a good week. I know sometimes that things can be so stressful, and I also know that other times your body just is being a nuisance. I did something in the back of my left knee, behind, on the back side of your knee, not the front side, the back, where where all those muscles are. I did something and angered that this week, and I've been struggling with my knee discussions back and forth about its not appreciating things that I was doing. And so yeah, I'm just like, no, we're still doing stuff. We're still shoveling poop and shoveling, wet shavings and stuff like that. We're raking and shoveling and taking it out and dumping the cart and coming back. And, these are things that, this is where I'm trying to build my strength. I mean, Tuesday, didn't tell y'all about this yet because it just happened Tuesday. When I went to the nutritionist, I have a nutritionist because I don't qualify. Doctors are not going to put me under anesthesia unless it is life-threatening, because they prefer not to. With the damage to my lungs from COVID, they just prefer not to. So, that's one of those things that, it's their preference that we not do that. So I'm not a candidate for any of those fancy gastric bypass or whatever surgeries. And I really don't know that I would want to do it, even if you did say it. When I had to attend a orientation about that as part of my nutritionist, things that they do. And I was in there, and of course, I was a registered nurse, and this guy's a surgeon, and he's talking to people, and the way he's talking about these surgeries, you would think that they are the best thing since sliced bread. You would also think that they are the end-all answer. And they don't, I don't feel like in that orientation that he did, I don't honestly feel like that they took the time to represent that this meant a lifetime lifestyle change, that in order to maintain what they build with that little sleeve or whatever, it's a very, very small amount of food. And you have to be willing to make a lifetime decision to eat forevermore nothing but those very small amounts of food at a time, or you're going to barf it up right away. I mean, it's not like wait till you get home. It's like you run from the table and go barf. I have a friend who had the surgery done, and I've seen her do that. We went to a lunch together, a bunch of us. We were all in, worked in the same place. And we were all managers in there, and we went out to lunch real quick one day. Thought we'd run over to there's a Chinese buffet, and they are very, very good. And we went over there to do that, and she had this tiny amount of food on her plate, but it was not, it was obvious she was going to eat like a bite of 2 or 3 different things, and that was probably going to be about it. And she ate a little bit more than, what she really was supposed to eat. And I mean, she had this surgery done a couple of years ago, so it's not like it was new. And she just ate a little bit more than what she should have. And she had to go tearing off to the bathroom, throw it all up. And I'm just like, for me, that's not something that I'm comfortable making that decision for the rest of my life, that I will never eat more than 2, that small amount of food. Because there may be an occasion where I want to eat a little bit more than that, and I don't want to throw it all back up again. It's one thing. The other thing is I want to learn discipline. I am working on that very, very carefully. And so I'm working with my nutritionist. I am using the Manjaro because when I was in the hospital, they sent me home on insulin when I came out of the hospital from COVID. And because I had all over the place blood sugar readings, which was, considering what all I'd been through, wasn't uncommon between the meds that they used and when I first got out of ICU, it took all the strength I had just to try to eat a little bit of food. I was so weak, just getting a fork to my mouth was exhausting. So, it really, it's been an adventure and learning, and getting your strength back and all that stuff. But, so I'm trying to learn to make good choices in my eating. And that's been my journey. And so, like I said, I had to go through that silly thing with the surgeon. And I mentioned that I was using the Wegovy. No, not Wegovy. At that time, I was using the Ozempic. And that, I was learning to modify my diet and portion control with the help of that Ozempic. And the surgeon made the comment, well, you're going to have to be on that for the rest of your life. And I wanted to tell him, you're telling me any of these surgeries are not going to be for the rest of your life? What the heck are you talking about? Every one of these decisions, when you make a decision on that level of trying to work with getting control of your body, it's all a lifetime decision. It just is. So I don't think that was a very valid argument, but still, for me, it wasn't a choice. It wasn't a possibility. So I just had to attend the thing just to get, tick the box that I had done it. And as of Tuesday, I've lost another 15 pounds, which put me at 102 pounds total so far down. But in addition to that, losing 15 pounds, I have gained a pound of muscle, and that is huge. Gaining muscle, I'm 66, and at 66, gaining muscle mass, when you are limited on, so many different aspects of what you do, that is fantastic. So I am celebrating as much about the gain of the pound of muscle mass as I am about the the loss of the 15 pounds. So, I mean, to me, this is super exciting. I am really, really delighted. And so, yeah, I may have had battles with my fence and other things this week. And I have been so exhausted from shoveling, and raking stuff every day because we've had some rain. And where my barn sits, it's like there's the road and then it kind of dips down, and the barn is like starts right there. And the water tends to seep down under the wall, and there's one little area by the wall that's a little bit wet looking. It's not real wet, but you can see the dark look to the dirt. And then in the very center of the stall is kind of a low place a little bit. Now that place gets a lot of water. I don't know if I've got water that is natural water, because I know I have a lot of springs up and around all over the property. So I don't know if that is a place where the springs in the area run a little bit close to the surface, and when we get a lot of rain, it pools there a little bit. So anytime she tracks, wood shavings or hay or anything like that through that area, it all gets soaking wet, and it weighs a lot. Wet hay and wet shavings weigh a lot, and you have to rake all that stuff out of that area and keep it raked away. And then you got to shovel it all up into your cart and then roll it out and go dump it. And that is, for me, that's some really heavy work. And I think some of that is also how I've managed to gain that pound of muscle, is just through on days where I don't feel like I'm going to wipe myself out in the barn. I sometimes have been walking to the barn, which is quite a good distance. The barn is not close. There's a small barn up front by the house. Then past the small barn, there's a second barn, and that's the barn that the stall's in. So it's a hike to get down to that barn, and then hiking all the way back. And that's, it's very, very difficult for me to go walk back and forth, plus have to shovel and, rake and all that stuff and move hay. And, when you add all that together, that is extremely physically taxing. I am getting, it really puts me in a wipeout mode. So usually I will drive down to the barn, do the other stuff, and drive back. And that way I'm not to the point of just complete exhaustion when I get back to the house. And so, that's just one of the ways I help make it a little easier. But anyway, so I know we each have things that we do to help us accommodate what we need to do in life and get the things done that we need to do. And I'm so grateful for all those healthcare professionals who have given us ideas of how to make it work better, and ideas on, how to help, whether it's the high protein diet like I'm on. And, that's another thing, you like, sometimes what you need medically in your diet doesn't exactly add up to this quote unquote perfect weight loss type diet, but you do need to follow those protocols. And so, that's just one of those things. But anyway, I am so happy, and I hope that you guys have had a good week. And even if it wasn't all good, there is good in there that you can find. I know there is good. And I'll be honest, in the early days when people told me, well, you're alive, I wasn't so sure why I should be celebrating that. I was so messed up. And now it's like I've at least healed enough to where I can celebrate that I'm still here and having opportunities to do things and to make a difference somewhere. And even one person that gets anything from these things that I'm doing, just one person, it'll all be worth it, and I'll be happy as a lark. So I don't set some high ridiculous bar. I care more about individuals than I am worried about numbers. Numbers are never what I get into this for. It's all about the individuals. You guys are who matters and what matters to me. So y'all have a blessed week and a wonderful week, and count the good things that are happening to you to all week long. And if you want to, jot them down. And by the end of the week, when you get to Friday or Saturday, whenever you consider your week ending, and you get there and you look, you can see, oh, I didn't even remember that. This happened and that happened and that happened. That's cool. Good things are happening. So count your blessings and have a fabulous week ahead. Happy Mayday Monday, guys. Love y'all dearly, and I'll see you soon.